What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Pazza Podcast. Before we get started, please give me a like, subscribe, thumbs up, a share, a comment, any of that stuff. Any of it is much appreciated. But yeah, let's dive into this match. Inter away in Bologna at the Stadio Dall'Ara. Inter started the match, not many rotations, which was kind of surprising considering the midweek match we had against Bayern, which was a match that a lot of the players who played majority of the match you could tell were gassed at the end of it. Thuram ended up picking up an injury who played the full 90 as well. So yeah, it was a match that expelled a lot of energy from these Inter players, and to see not too big of a rotated squad was something of a little bit of a surprise here. We started with Jan Sommer in goal, Benji Pavard, Francesco Acerbi, and Bastoni, so the same back three. On the right, Darmian, no change there. Midfield three, no change. Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan. One of the changes was Carlos Augusto, came in for Di Marco on the left wing back. And then the other change, Joaquin Correa, came in for Thuram, and Lautaro started. So interesting that Inzaghi, decided to not rotate on this match, given Napoli had drawn level, maybe the pressure of that. Napoli 1-0 victory over Monza the day before in the 72nd minute. McTominay scored. Turati, I don't know, he was in no man's land for Monza. And it was also interesting, Gagliardini, longtime banter era Inter player, laughable player, definitely not of the Inter quality. He's been out for Monza for quite a while with injury, comes back, gets subbed in the 68th minute as a midfielder. 72nd minute, a midfielder for Napoli steps up and scores. Gagliardini maybe wasn't guarding him, but just that correlation there and seeing that is just enough to piss you off as an Inter fan. Napoli maybe probably did deserve to win that game, but 0-0 draw wasn't too far off on the horizon. And it sucks to see that Gagliardini came in and then immediately Napoli score. So what a useless player. Absolutely useless. Probably the most useless Inter signing ever, maybe. Other than what was that Turkish left back, Caner Erkin, I think, that we signed and then didn't even make an appearance. I think we signed and sold him in the same window, which is nuts. But yeah, getting back to the Inter match, we started really well. Third minute, there was a foul, probably 30, 40 yards out on Correa, who was driving towards the back line of Bologna. Smart play by Çalhanoğlu, finds that, the team hasn't set up or reset properly, finds Lautaro on a through ball, who was trying to catch the defense sleeping as well. Lautaro tried the audacious chip. I think it came off of Lucumi, the center back for Bologna, off of his chest. Ended up being he had to dive, but it wasn't too much of a crazy dive. Rather easy save for the keeper for Bologna. But that was a good early chance for Inter, third minute. I think Lautaro maybe should have went for power instead of the chip there. Maybe if it didn't come off of Lucumi, then we could have seen a maybe better chance there. But again, there were signs there. Fourth minute, right after that, the ensuing corner from that play, ball came in. Carlos Augusto kind of ran off of the outside shoulder of Benji Pavard, almost like a pick play that you see in basketball, and kind of a wide open header. He had to stretch out a little bit for it and turned it just outside the post. It was very close there. And that's something I've mentioned many times, whether it be throw-ins or off corners. Our front post is where it seems like we're having the most success and where it seems like we emphasized putting the ball. If you notice, teams have kind of on throw-ins, those long throw-ins near the box when we bring up Pavard or Bisek or Bastoni. Well, Bastoni's a lot of times the one throwing it. Whoever the big body is that's coming up on throw-ins, people are putting a defender on the goal line where the keeper should be and putting the keeper on that big body so they can have the extra length to reach up with their hands and try and contest that ball. It's an interesting tactic from other teams, but I've seen it a couple times over the past couple weeks. In the league specifically, I don't think Bayern really picked up on that or did that, but it's another interesting to look at. And yeah, that honestly, those two chances should have resulted in a goal potentially, but What are you going to do? We've seen this season the lack of clinical finishing has really not been great despite our goal scoring numbers. We've had so many more chances that the amount of goals we scored, we should be on track to break some sort of record, it seems like, this year. But what are you going to do? Following that, there really wasn't much going on in that first 20 minutes or so. 26th minute is really when the game starts getting back and forth. Acerbi loses a duel to Dalinga, which is something we saw a lot this match. It wasn't very common of Acerbi in past, but this match, I think fatigue, he played that full 90 midweek against Bayern. I don't know why Stefan de Vrij wasn't afforded the start this match. I think Acerbi had one of his worst matches of the season. Still wasn't terrible, but he was getting torched pretty easily, losing headers, aerial duels, which is something you don't see a lot from Acerbi. And I don't think it was a really great game per se for Francesco Acerbi. And he's the leader back there. If he's not stepping up and winning all these duels and stuff, I think it affects a lot of the team and the morale of the team. And I don't know the thought process of Inzaghi there. Maybe with the midweek match against Milan, it's Coppa Italia. Inzaghi, at least in my opinion, is focusing more or probably weighing more on the Champions League and the league. Coppa Italia, maybe he's like, I'll get these rotational players in there, and that's when we'll rotate is midweek in the Copa. It probably still won't be a heavily rotated squad if I had to assume, but we will see some changes. Maybe that was a thought process there. I don't know why De Vrij didn't get, but him losing that challenge to Dalinga, it led to Ndoye getting the ball, cutting the ball back to Abashir. Sorry if I'm butchering his name. And a good chance for Bologna. And then in the 28th minute, literally a couple minutes later, somehow Cherby finds his way out on the side where Ndoye, I think the ball got played past Bastoni, and Cherby had to come out to try and stop Ndoye. Ndoye just blew right past him, cut the ball back for Dalinga again. And by the grace of God, Pavard was there. It was a sure goal, and it hit the back of Pavard's leg. I don't know how much Pavard really knew about it. And that was probably the biggest chance of the first half for either side. Bologna probably felt like they should be up 1-0 after that. Sommer wasn't going to get to it. It was just a great time challenge, I guess, by Benji Pavard. But it was worrying for Inter. And we saw this multiple times in the first half. We'll talk about it a little bit in a minute. It was Dan and Doy. But yeah, that was a big chance for Bologna. The only other chance really for the rest of the half, 34th minute, off of a corner. Bastoni somehow found his way. It didn't really hit his head. It hit like the back of his neck. A lot of bodies in the middle of the box right there off the corner. And Bastoni was the one that got a touch to it, just barely over the crossbar. And yeah, both teams probably had one or two decent chances in the first half. I think 0-0, 1-1 would have been fair at the halftime for a result. But this is, a game that we knew going into it. Midweek match against Bayern, away in Bologna against a team that is fighting for top four. Just came off of a kind of a bad loss against Lazio the week before. And yeah, it just, I don't know. It definitely, Inter seemed up to it, but it you could see the fatigue weighing in on the players maybe. I don't know. First half notes I put, it wasn't great, but not terrible. That Mkhitaryan misplaced a lot of passes, didn't look up to it. Again, an older player, fatigue maybe playing a factor. Would have maybe liked to see Fratesi from the start, given that Bologna plays that man-to-man and we were struggling getting the ball out of that back line. Maybe some direct balls over the top. That's Fratesi's bread and butter, is running through the midfield and testing that over the top directness and everything. So maybe we would have liked to see him instead of Mkhitaryan. Correa, absolutely useless. We'll talk about him again towards the end of for the post match. And then at Cherby, like I said, I don't think he really had a great game either. Best chances for us were from set pieces, and that just leads to the fatigue. We're not creating anything from open space in this match, it seemed like. Dan and Doy, this guy torched us in the first half. Beginning of the second half as well, kind of faded as the game went. Fatigue maybe playing a factor with him, but my goodness, what a player. That goal he had against Napoli a couple weeks ago, the back heel flick, this performance this half, It's a player that I think we were in on last summer, and it's a shame we didn't pick him up because his price tag is probably doubled. He would have been a great option to play and learn in behind Dumfries and play in place of Dumfries. If we had Ndoye in this stretch where Dumfries is out, wouldn't have been a drop off of quality in my opinion. And it's just a shame we didn't bring him in last season. Probably not going to be able to bring him in this season, this summer window. He's a player I absolutely love. There's a few players for Bologna that I absolutely love. I'd love to raid them this summer. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. But Dan Ndoye completely torched us. Man of the match for me in this was Dan Ndoye. Um, love the player. Just direct, fast, skillful, can find the ball, can strike it on the volley, can strike it with a back heel flick, can beat a player, directness, dribbling, speed, just anything. He's got the pieces to be a really class player. I'm not going to say world class, but a really class player. The only thing is his defensive. I don't know if he would fit very well, and maybe that's the thought process behind the directors last season: is will he help us defensively and track back, or will it be a liability out there? So I don't know. I thought Ndoye had a great match. Would love to see Ndoye play for Inter. Don't think it's going to happen, but he had an absolute great first half. Was unplayable, it seemed like, on that right side. Wasn't really testing. It was kind of weird though where he was finding his position. It was kind of in between that line of Bastoni and Carlos Augusto. So he was finding that gray area of space, which I think was really helping him just get in behind. You can't really fault Bastoni or Augusto. They both had decent moments against him. He finding the perfect spaces to really exploit Inter's back line. It was a really great half from Dan and Doy in the first half for them. And then I put we needed to not drop points. The way this performance was going, a draw was worth more than 0 points for sure. Obviously, that makes sense having 1 point versus zero, but I don't think we needed to play. We definitely couldn't give up a loss. Kind of foreshadowing there, I guess. Second half, kind of slow start to the second half. Nothing really of note the first 10 or so minutes. The first thing I really wrote down was in the 56th minute. Not really sure what happened here. The referee came over the sideline, ended up sending off Vincenzo Italiano and Max Ferris for Inter, the assistant coach for Inter, head coach for Bologna, Italiano. Don't really know what's happening. I saw Ferris talking to the assistant referee on the sideline there. Italiano came up and confronted him, even though it was right in our technical area. Don't know why Ferris got sent off. It seemed like a really weird situation. The referee, I think, did an absolutely terrible job. Wasn't consistent in his calls. Some things that were fouls weren't fouls. Should have given yellow cards in the first half for both Inter and Bologna players that he did not give. Second half, gave a couple cards, but still, I think there should have been more cards in the match. And he was letting some plays go where players were getting absolutely mugged, then calling it soft, a second later on the opposite side. It was just, he was not a referee up for the task, and I don't think he did a great job of all. If I had to mark him, I'd give him like a 4 out of a 10. Wasn't too much controversy. Could have been. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but not too much controversy. But I think he was very inconsistent and just didn't do an overall great job. Didn't let the game flow. There was a lot of fouls getting called in that second half without cards. It was a very high foul match, and he was trying to bring control into the match by calling the fouls versus trying to manage the players on the pitch. And I don't know, just wasn't a good performance from the official, in my opinion. From that, we ended up making some subs. Fratesi, Darmian, Taremi came on for Mkhitaryan, Bastoni, and Correa. Obviously, Mkhitaryan and Bastoni got a yellow card, which means from Inzaghi's MO, you're going to come off. Surprised it didn't happen earlier. Both of those players also missed the match against Roma on next Saturday. So big miss, Mkhitaryan and Bastoni. And Correa. Not a big miss, but Taremi came on. 83rd minute. Again, we're skipping ahead way. Second half, kind of a boring half in my opinion. There were half chances for both sides, but it wasn't too crazy. 83rd minute, off a throw in, like we said earlier. Challenge. The keeper comes out. Lautaro Martinez, a challenge up at. Somehow the ball bounces out of the keeper's hands, hits the crossbar, bounces perfectly into the path of Mehdi Taremi. All you have to do is tap it in, put it in the net. There is a player on you. Miranda makes a great goal line saving tackle. But as a striker, there's no way you don't put this ball in the back of the net. I don't care if you hit it into the ground. I don't care if you hit the shit out of it and break the back of the net. The tap in that Taremi tried, you could even tell there was no confidence there. He's lunging for the ball, leaning back. It's surprising that the ball didn't go over the crossbar with this tap that he should have had. There's absolutely no confidence with this player at all. He is useless. He is one of the worst signings, albeit a free signing, but one of the worst signings Inter, other than Correa, that Inter has on this squad. That ball should have been put in the back of the net. Then you give the referee a hard chance or a hard decision to make because the referee eventually did call it back for a foul. I think if he would have scored and if VAR would have intervened, there would have been no chance they called a foul on this one. Inter would have been up 1-0 with 6 minutes left to go in the match. And Bologna would have been chasing the match, but I think the substitutions would have been different for Inter and Inzaghi. You would have seen De Vrij come in instead of Arnautovic. You maybe would have seen Bisek still come in, and we would have shut down shop a lot harder than we did, and the game would have been over either 1-0 or 1-1. Absolutely pathetic by Mehdi Taremi. This guy should not play again. Neither should Joaquin Correa. And the fact that there are backup strikers and that we're probably going to have to let them play in the match again absolutely pisses me off. These two players are absolutely useless, and it's just a shame that we have to rely on players like this in big matches like this against Bologna. The reason why Arnautovic wasn't in on this, he's not fully fit. It's a problem with him as well. This guy's only playing 50 minutes every other game, and he's still not up for full fitness. It's a shame, but he's bagging goals. We can't be too upset with him. He's still got an appearance, but he's bagging goals. Mehdi Taremi, Joaquin Correa, these guys are absolutely useless. Useless. And they still get chances. And they never do anything to justify their selection. And it just is so annoying that we have to rely. These guys are the reason why we are not running away with the league, I feel like. You can blame other players, you can blame Inzaghi, but when these fringe players come in, like a Taremi, like an Aslani, like a Correa, they're just absolutely useless on the pitch. I like Aslani, but I don't think he fits our system. I like Fratesi, I don't think he fits our system. Correa and Mehdi Taremi can go fuck themselves. They're absolutely useless. And this was just another example of what could eventually kick us in the ass towards the end. He had the goal against Milan in the Supercoppa final, but he also missed a sitter in that one as well. There's been a couple games where he's absolutely missed sitters, whether it's in the Champions League or the Serie A. Get this guy out of the club. I don't care if we sell him for $1 million. It's still more than what we brought him in for. He doesn't need to be on our wages anymore. Get him away from Inter. And yeah, I'm sorry for the rant, but I've felt very passionate about Mehdi Taremi and how shitty he is and how shitty he has been for Inter. Seems like a nice guy. Maybe that's his downfall. He's too nice of a guy. He doesn't have that killer instinct. Playing for a big club like Inter, the pressure has obviously gotten to him. But my God, if he puts that in and they go to VAR and overturn it, that's a different subject. And that's a different form of controversy that we're talking about. And my rant would be just as fueled talking about the official and why that shouldn't have come back. But make them go to VAR. Again, Miranda, huge save off the line. But when you're that close as a striker, you don't even let the center back, the outside back, the defender get anywhere close to the ball there. You blast it in the net. And it's just absolutely a shameful performance from Mehdi Taremi. I mean, I'm going to have to stop there because I'll just keep going and ranting and saying the same thing, but absolutely abysmal. And then in the 92nd minute, something I saw before the late winner for Orsolini, you could see, I think something happened, and I think maybe it was a long ball through that came to Sommer, and he let it play at his feet, was just standing there. Bologna wasn't coming. It was like a good 5-10 seconds before they finally put a little pressure, and he slowly picked it up. And then he like kind of did this, like, let's slow it down. Essentially saying, and I think the announcers on Paramount even said, like, it looks like Inter's is happy with a draw here. And at this time, yes, a draw is good. Very good. That's what we needed at this point in time. 1 point ahead of Napoli going against Roma is better than being level on points. But it's a thing we've seen with BSEC a couple of times, and it's a shame. I think we need to cash in on BSEC. Before we get to this conversation, and maybe we won't dive too deep into it, maybe this is a postseason conversation. 94th minute, ball comes in on a cross. I think it was Miranda again. He's a decent player. I like him on the left for Bologna. Has a great left foot. Ball comes in, and BSEC goes up for a header. It was out of his reach. If he, Pavard maybe would have called him off, he would have had a better clearance, right, literally right in behind him. Bisek's clearance is absolutely terrible. It falls right into the path of Orsolini on the back post. DiMarco looked like he was on him pretty tight. I don't think there was anything DiMarco could have done. It was just a brilliant play by Orsolini, a bicycle kick. Past Sommer, 94th minute. And yeah, we're level on points with Napoli now. And Orsolini scored the winner, and that was the game. I think Bisek could have done better with the clearance or shouldn't have even attempted it. Should have been Pavard. You got to know how high you can jump and if you can get to the ball or not. And it's disappointing. Inter, at a certain point in the second half, definitely went in for a draw. Don't think it was really a terrible decision considering the midweek matches that we just had and the midweek match that's coming up. Away at the Dall'Ara, you'd like for us, the team of our quality, to go for a win every match, but that's not the reality of playing a 38 match league season, especially when you have as many other matches as we do. The announcer said we've already played 50 matches this season, which is more than we've already played last season, which was more than we played in total last season. We still potentially have 10 or 11 matches left to go in the season. These players are drained. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're drained mentally, physically. It's crazy that we have more games to go. If you want to blame anybody, blame UEFA, blame FIFA, blame Serie A, blame them for making them go to Saudi for the Supercopa, blame all these international breaks where there's games, matches now that actually mean something, the UEFA Nations League. Blame the extra 2 matches in the Champions League that have to be played for the new format. Blame the FIFA World Cup this summer and all the other stuff, FIFA World Cup qualifiers that take up these international breaks for these players. Just don't blame the players themselves. Don't blame Inzaghi at this point. These players are giving it their all. They're just freaking exhausted. And it sucks that if we lose the league, if we lose the Champions League, if we lose the Coppa Italia, it'll be seen as a failure considering how many matches these guys have played. It's absolutely heroic seeing them every 3 days. We're spoiled as Inter fans. When have you ever had a season like this? It seems like every Wednesday or Tuesday there's an Inter match, and then every subsequent Sunday, Saturday there's an Inter match. We're spoiled getting to see this, and we're not sitting back looking at the big picture when we're criticizing these players and the manager. Blame the fixture list. Don't blame the players. They obviously are going out there and fighting every match, leaving it all out on the pitch. Inzaghi, I mean, you can hear him on the sideline leaving it all on the pitch. It's just a shame the way that the season is going. We're still in for the treble, and I still think we will win 2 competitions. Hopeful for all 3. But this is a setback, and there's setbacks on any big, great season. We still have a lot of matches left. Like I said last week in the treble winning season, we didn't wrap up the league until that match against Siena. It was the second to last match day. We only won the league by 2 points over Roma that season. We had a very tough group stage Champions League. Coppa Italia wasn't easy. Like, this is the process of winning a treble. It's not going to be easy along the way. It's the perseverance. It's the winning the games when it matters. It's the putting the results above the performances kind of mindset at this point in the season for a treble winning season. So let's just keep that in mind. Some post match thoughts. Uh, it seemed like all the energy was wasted midweek. So you can probably maybe blame Inzaghi slightly for not rotating a little bit. Like I said, I would like to have seen Fratesi in, maybe even a Zaleski on the right wing instead of Darmian. Would have liked to have seen. I know Arnautovic couldn't play. Taremi maybe instead of Correa. Taremi or Correa. I don't know. Again, both of those are absolutely useless options, but Correa I think is more useless overall. Taremi could have at least pressed a little higher, won the ball back, decent off the ball, way better than Correa is. Maybe De Vrij instead of Acerbi, Bisek instead of Pavard. I don't know. Maybe a little more rotation. Think we'll see that midweek though, and that's probably why. I think it also speaks to Inzaghi not trusting our bench. Why didn't we see an Aslani come on? Inzaghi doesn't trust him. Why don't we see a Fretesi start? Inzaghi doesn't trust him. Doesn't trust Taremi. I think he only trusts Correa because Correa knows the system and has been with Inzaghi for a long time. Don't really know why De Vrij wasn't entrusted, but yeah, I think this shows Inzaghi doesn't trust the bench. Speaking of Correa, he should never play again in an Inter shirt. Neither should Taremi. We should just play our three strikers that we have now for the rest of the season. Fuck those other two guys. I don't want to see them on the pitch again. Had a little rant earlier. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but Correa, again, in the 53rd minute, had a chance. If you remember, Lautaro, great play, plays it through. Correa finds it, leans back. One of the worst shots I've ever seen. Top of the box. Sliced it, went up. It was absolutely abysmal. And this is a guy that we're letting play 60, 65 minutes in a match, coming in late in matches to try and hold up the ball. He doesn't do anything to hold up the play. He looks at the defender as the ball's in the air, runs and tries to engage while not even looking at the ball. He's absolutely useless. Um, I don't know what more to say other than Correa and Taremi. They are the ones. If we lose this league, if we lose the Champions League, if we lose the Coppa Italia, they are the ones you should be blaming, not the players that have been giving it their all, busting their tails week in and week out. Not Inzaghi. It's I'm just over them too. Another thing, there's no creativity in the midfield for Inter. This is a problem. This team reminds me of the 08-09 Inter team, not in the formation or anything, but just in the way the midfield has no creativity. Barella works hard. Mkhitaryan works hard. Çalhanoğlu works really hard, and Çalhanoğlu is probably our most creative player, but he sits so far back. If those balls over the top aren't open, he doesn't have the opportunity to go forward to provide creativity in that last attacking third a lot of the times. And that was the same for those 08-09 team. Stankovic, Cambiaso, Zanetti, three really hardworking midfielders that weren't providing any creativity. That's why we had to bring Wesley Schneider in, and I think that's why you saw us in with for Samardzic, who's now at Atalanta this past offseason or the offseason before. I can't really remember. While we're looking at Nico Paz, while we brought in Zielinski, these players are supposed to provide that creativity in the final third to help us unlock in the middle of the pitch so we don't have to rely on our wing backs going outside and just dumping crosses in, or Bastoni dumping crosses in. And that's what we see. That's what we've been seeing this whole season. There's no creativity in the midfield, and that's alarming. And I think that's something we need to address in the summer. Bringing in someone like a Nico Paz, who I don't think is going to happen, unfortunately, but we need to have some creativity to unlock games from the middle of the field so teams can't just put numbers in the box and defend our crosses game in and game out. We got to have something in the midfield to unlock teams. And it's just frustrating to the max. We had chances this match. Carlos Augusto, Lautaro, Taremi. We had chances in this match to at least get a goal. The XGs, it was what, 0.82 for Bologna, 0.62 for Inter. Higher XG for Bologna, but neither team had a clear cut, advantage on expected goals. So it was a level match for the most part. Bologna maybe had the better chances, but I think a draw would have been fair. Bologna obviously happy with the result. We should be upset with the result. I think a draw would have been fair, but it's just frustrating that this is what happens. A late winner. Considering last season we were the one getting all the late winners, it seems like this season the late stuff is happening against us, which is frustrating to see. And that could be the difference in this campaign. But moving forward, we have Milan on Wednesday, Coppa Italia, second leg, tied 1-1 on aggregate. We'll see how that turns out. Would love to beat Milan in regular time and move to the final, get revenge against Bologna, hopefully in the Coppa Italia. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I expect a little bit of rotation. I expect us to maybe sit a little deeper and let Milan take the game to us with the rotated squad, but we'll see. I'm kind of over and done guessing what Inzaghi's going to do this season with his lineup choices. Then we play Roma on Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time, so that will be 6 p.m. kickoff in Italy. That's going to be a big match, especially missing Bastoni and Mkhitaryan. I'm sure we'll see Carlos Augusto. Good news is Dumfries and Zielinski should be back on the bench for that Roma match. So don't know if either of them will get the start. We might see Fratesi in midfield and Darmian again at right back. Maybe we'll see Zalewski midweek. We'll see. Then we played Barcelona the following Wednesday. So a lot of big matches coming up. Napoli at home against Torino next weekend. I did see something. Maybe Duvan Zapata will be back for Torino. If so, that'll be huge. I don't know. We can't rest on our laurels and hope that teams give us. We got to go out and win every match from here on out in the league. Napoli have a couple decently tough matches. I think they travel to Parma and Genoa. And then this match against Torino, I think they want to have to play Cagliari as well. So they don't have tough matches, but they're not easy. We have a tougher schedule. We'll see. I still have faith we're going to win at least two competitions. Not going to be doubting that we'll win three. And we'll see. We'll see how it happens. I'm still optimistic for the season. This is just a little stop up on the path to a treble winning season, guys. Let's keep that in mind. At the end of the season, we won't remember this result. We'll just remember that we won the triplete. So let's end it with some optimism. As always, guys, Forza Inter. Let's win it.